Welcome to the deep dive. Tonight we're unraveling the story of a figure whose influence, well, it fundamentally reshaped an entire nation's industrial landscape and its global presence.
We're talking about Ratan Tata, of course.
Exactly. His name is just synonymous with, integrity, innovation, and this immense social impact that stretches far beyond India's borders.
And our mission today really is to dive into this big stack of fascinating insights we've gathered. We've got academic analyses of his leadership style. We've got candid online discussions about how people see him, his public image.
Right.
And we want to distill the most important nuggets of knowledge from all of that.
Yeah, and the idea is to break down maybe some complex business ideas into clear, understandable concepts, almost like explaining big ideas to a curious kid,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hopefully giving you a fresh perspective on what true leadership actually entails.
Absolutely. So, to guide us, we'll be drawing from, well, quite a rich tapestry of sources.
Yeah, there's a comprehensive academic study focusing specifically on his leadership. Then detailed articles looking at his ethical decisions, his philanthropy.
Which is huge.
Oh, absolutely huge. Timelines of his big, transformative business moves, and even a social media thread that gives us a peek into all sorts of diverse public opinions.
Right, the full spectrum.
Exactly. So this blend should let us see Ratan Tata from many, many angles, give you a really well-rounded, deeply informed understanding.
Sounds great. Let's dive in.
Okay.
So to truly understand Ratan Tata, I think we have to start right at the very beginning.
Makes sense.
With the foundations of this, well, remarkable legacy, he was born December 28, 1937, in Mumbai, and he entered a prominent Parsi Zoroastrian family.
Now that word prominent, it carries a lot of weight here.
It really does. When we say prominent, you need to grasp the full meaning. It wasn't just about, having money.
No, not at all. It meant this family was already profoundly established. Deep roots in business, in philanthropy.
Yeah.
Their influence was woven right into the fabric of India's economy and society.
Like a really old, significant institution in itself.
Precisely. Yet, despite this, illustrious background, his early life actually faced significant upheaval.
Yeah, his parents, Naval Tata and Suni Commissariat, they separated when he was just 10 years old.
Which must have been a really challenging time for a young boy.
Absolutely. And subsequently, he was formally adopted and, by all accounts, lovingly raised by his grandmother, Navajbai Tata.
And she was quite a figure, wasn't she? Formidable is the word often used.
Yes, formidable. She was the widow of Ratanji Tata, who himself was the son of the Tata Group founder, Jamsetji Tata.
So that adoption really cemented his direct link back to the very origins of the Tata Empire. Placed him right at the core of that lineage.
Right in the middle of it. Now, his upbringing, it happened in the opulent Tata Palace in downtown Bombay, which is now Mumbai, of course.
Opulent sounds like pure luxury.
It does, right? And, he certainly experienced indulgence. There are stories of him being driven to school in a Rolls Royce.
Wow.
But, and this is key, his grandmother, Lady Navajbai, she was this formidable figure who instilled a really strong set of values.
So it wasn't just indulgence.
Not at all. It was this kind of unique balance, privilege, yes, but coupled with strict discipline. And that combination seems to have deeply shaped his character.
That makes sense. And he wasn't an only child.
No, he shared his childhood with a younger brother, Jimmy Tata, and also a half-brother, Noel Tata, from his father's second marriage.
Okay. And his education journey sounds pretty extensive, too.
It really was. It gave him this broad exposure to different cultures, different environments right from the start. He attended Campion School, Cathedral, and John Connon School, both in Mumbai, then moved to Bishop Cotton School up in Shimla, and eventually graduated in 1955 from Riverdale Country School in New York City.
Wow, so spanning continents already.
Exactly. This educational path provided him with an early global perspective that, would prove invaluable later on.
And that global exposure didn't stop there, right? There was the Cornell Cauldron period.
Yes, that's often what it's called. His time in the United States at Cornell University from 1955 to 1962. Significant years.
What was he studying initially?
He started with engineering, apparently respecting his father's wishes, but then came this pivotal decision. He switched to architecture.
Ah, architecture. That's interesting.
Yeah, and a move that reportedly caused his father some, let's say, consternation.
I can imagine. But he stuck with it.
He did, and remarkably, he actually completed both courses, engineering and architecture, in under 7 years.
Wow, that's impressive.
It really is. But what's fascinating here is how those architecture studies seem to have profoundly influenced his later business acumen.
How so?
In what way? Well, it instilled in him this deep appreciation for meticulous planning, for innovative design, and crucially, the ability to visualize the entire structure, the big picture, before you even lay the first stone.
Ah, I see. Like seeing the blueprint before you build.
Exactly. That analytical, holistic approach to design seems to have transferred directly to his strategic thinking as a business leader. It equipped him, as one source put it.
Okay, but just as he was sort of finding this path, settling in, fate intervened.
It did. He apparently genuinely loved California, the whole West Coast lifestyle. He even had a job offer from IBM.
IBM, right. So he was potentially going to stay in the U.S.?
By all accounts, yeah. He was ready to build his life there. However, the declining health of his grandmother, Lady Navajbai, it was an illness that lasted 7 years. It necessitated his return to India.
Ah, okay. So it interrupted his chosen course.
Completely. It was clearly a moment of profound personal commitment, deferring his own aspirations for family duty.
That's a big sacrifice.
Huge. And there's that famous anecdote that captures this moment perfectly.
Which one is that?
J.R.D. Tata, who was the chairman of the Tata Group back then, he called Ratan directly and basically told him, quote, "You can't be here in India and working for IBM."
Wow. Pretty direct.
Very. Ratan Tata recalls sitting in the IBM office, apparently without even having a resume ready.
Right.
And typing one out on an electric typewriter right then and there.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't just, a career shift. It felt like a deeply personal sacrifice, prioritizing his family's legacy, his grandmother's well-being, over his own immediate desires.
And this commitment, it even impacted his personal life, didn't it?
It did, yeah. There's the story that he was close to marriage in Los Angeles.
Right.
But the woman's family was hesitant about her moving to India, partly because of the instability around the 1962 Indochina War.
Ah, the timing.
Yeah, and that led to the end of their relationship. He later revealed, quite candidly, that he was, quote, close to getting married 4 times. But for various reasons, ultimately remained single. It highlights a very private side of him.
It really does. So, following this personal sacrifice, he officially joins the Tata Group in 1962.
That's right. He began as an assistant in Tata Industries. Now, Tata Industries acted as the promoter company.
Promoter company, what does that mean exactly?
Basically, it was the entity responsible for nurturing and launching new ventures within the bigger Tata family of companies. Kind of like the incubator or the big sibling helping start things up.
Got it. But he didn't just stay in an office, right?
No, absolutely not. His entry wasn't confined to a desk job. He spent 6 crucial months undergoing hands-on training at Telco, which is now Tata Motors, and Tisco, now Tata Steel, down in Jamshedpur.
Okay, so right in the thick of it.
Exactly. This wasn't just some formal onboarding. He gained invaluable shop floor experience, learning the foundational operations, really understanding the challenges faced by workers at the grassroots level.
And that kind of practical insight, you can see how that would be critical for his future leadership.
Definitely. That direct hands-on experience undoubtedly prepared him for his first real independent leadership challenge, which came in 1971.
Right, with Nelco.
Exactly. National Radio and Electronics Company Limited, or Nelco. At the time, it was described as an ailing electronics enterprise.
Ailing, so struggling.
Yeah, grappling with severe financial difficulties. And Ratan Tata's guidance during this period proved transformative. He helped Nelco recover, and it really demonstrated his early capabilities in turning around struggling businesses.
So an early success story. But not every step was a success, was it? There was the Empress Mill situation.
Ah, yes, the Empress Mill lesson, as it's sometimes called. That was in 1977. He was tasked with nurturing Empress Mill, a textile unit that was incurring significant losses.
Okay.
He proposed what seemed like a crucial fund, 50 lakhs rupees, to revive it. But unfortunately, this request was dismissed by the core management.
They didn't approve the funds.
No. And that lack of support ultimately led to the mill's closure.
Wow. So that must have been a tough lesson.
Painful, definitely. But it served as a crucial early lesson in his career about, the importance of securing the necessary resources and buy-in for strategic initiatives. Even if your vision is crystal clear, sometimes the ingredients just aren't there.
That makes sense. So these foundational experiences, this mix of successes and setbacks, they were clearly shaping him.
No doubt. And he steadily rose through the ranks. joined the board of Tata Sons as a director in 1974.
Okay.
Then, in 1981, a big step, appointed chairman of Tata Industries. And he leveraged that role to transform it into a group think tank.
A think tank, meaning?
Like a central hub for generating and incubating big new ideas, and also a promoter of new ventures in high-tech businesses. He was already looking towards the future.
And wasn't there a strategic plan around then, too?
Yes, spot on. He drafted the pivotal Tata Strategic Plan in 1983, articulating a clear future vision for the entire conglomerate. His influence was growing. He even served as chairman of Air India, the national carrier, from 1986 to 1989.
Okay, so building quite the resume within the group.
Absolutely, which brings us to the really big transition.
1991.
March 25, 1991, he succeeded Jahangir Ratanji Dadabhai JRD Tata as chairman of Tata Sons and Tata Trusts.
And you really have to understand the immense weight of that transition.
Oh, absolutely. JRD had led the group for over half a century. He was a legend, a towering figure. His shoes seemed impossibly large to fill.
It's like taking over from a patriarch who had defined an entire era.
Exactly. And it wasn't a smooth handover internally, was it?
No, not at all. As some sources describe it, it was akin to walking into a minefield.
A minefield? Why?
Well, many saw Ratan Tata as an interloper, someone perceived as not really belonging or being welcome in that top spot.
Because he wasn't JRD.
Partly that, yeah. They doubted his charisma, his capabilities compared to JRD's huge presence. And crucially, the existing senior executives, many of whom had expected to succeed JRD themselves. They offered stiff resistance.
Ah, internal politics.
Big time. And the media amplified this skepticism. Some outlets even branded him the wrong choice.
Wow. So fraught with internal challenges and public scrutiny from day one.
Absolutely. But then something else huge was happening right at that exact moment.
The timing was incredible. His ascent, though challenging internally, coincided precisely with this monumental shift for India itself.
Economic liberalization.
Yes, 1991. This transformative period where the country began shedding the strict government controls, the socialist rhetoric of the past, opening up its economy to greater competition, to global markets.
A whole new playbook for Indian business.
Completely. And instead of being daunted by this, Ratan Tata seized the day. That's the phrase used.
How did he seize it?
Well, he proactively embraced the opportunities that came with the death of the license Raj, that incredibly cumbersome system of government permits that had previously just stifled business growth.
Right, getting rid of all that red tape.
Exactly. But he also, simultaneously, fortified the Tata embankments. That's a great phrase, against the threats of increased competition.
Okay, defending the home turf.
And then, boldly, he embraced the prospect of taking the group to foreign shores.
Going global.
Yes. It was about preparing this vast enterprise for an exciting, yes, but also potentially turbulent grand voyage into uncharted international waters, not just staying safe in the harbor.
But he still had that internal resistance to deal with, right?
Right.
How did he manage that alongside this big external shift?
Good question. To navigate the internal descent and, frankly, streamline the sprawling group, he implemented a bold but necessary reform.
Which was?
A universal retirement age policy. 70 for the chairman, 65 for senior executives.
Okay. That would shake things up.
It did. It was a strategic move. It led to the retirement or departure of many of those opposing executives, allowing him to consolidate his authority and actually implement his vision.
Clever. And did he centralize control too?
Yes, that was another key part. He required individual Tata companies to report directly to the group office and, significantly, to pay a royalty for using the powerful Tata brand name.
So bringing everything under one umbrella, strategically and financially.
Exactly, like bringing all the scattered family businesses under one unified strategic roof. And furthermore, he strategically exited non-core businesses, things like cement, textiles, cosmetics.
Focusing the portfolio.
Precisely. Choosing instead to focus on emerging high-growth sectors, software, telecom, finance, retail, creating a far more cohesive, efficient organization ready for that new global landscape.
Okay, so that sets the stage for his chairmanship. Now, let's dig into what actually defined his leadership during that time. What made him so impactful?
Right. When researchers looked closely at his leadership, they primarily identified two signature styles that kept coming up.
Those were?
Charismatic and transformative.
Okay. charismatic and transformative. And these aren't just like academic labels, right? They describe how he actually operated.
Exactly. They describe the very essence of how he inspired people and fundamentally changed the direction and the whole culture of the Tata Group.
Let's unpack charismatic first, because it's more than just being charming, isn't it?
Oh, much more. The word originates from a Greek root, meaning divinely inspired gift. In leadership terms, it refers to this captivating personality, yes, but coupled with deep self-belief and determination. It's that unique quality that naturally draws people in, inspires profound trust and confidence.
Like you think of figures like Steve Jobs, maybe, or Mahatma Gandhi. They had that something extra.
Exactly. That special quality that compels people to follow their vision. And Ratan Tata embodied several key characteristics of this charismatic leadership.
Such as?
First, his vision. It was immense. Charismatic leaders excel at forming the vision of how to move ahead. And Ratan Tata's vision was explicitly about making India recognized globally.
Right, using the Tata Group as the vehicle.
Precisely. He pursued this with, well, over 100 companies eventually, and through fine strategies, like pioneering India's first indigenous passenger car.
The Indica.
Yes. And introducing the Nano, designed as that affordable vehicle for the common Indian citizen. His vision painted this clear, compelling future.
And he could communicate that vision effectively.
That's the second point, mastery of communication. Charismatic leaders engage and inspire through lively and vibrant ways, often using humor, metaphors.
Making it relatable.
Exactly. Ratan Tata's ability to articulate his grand vision, his core values, with clarity was absolutely crucial. It rallied an entire workforce behind him. He could make complex ideas resonate, be easily grasped, ensuring everyone was aligned across this vast conglomerate.
Okay, vision and communication. What else?
Third, and this is critical, his ability to develop trust.
Trust. How did he build that?
Charismatic leaders develop trust among group members to help them face challenges and difficulties. What's really insightful about Ratan Tata's trust building wasn't just his day-to-day actions, but how he fundamentally redefined corporate responsibility, especially, in times of crisis.
Like the 26/11 Mumbai attack.
Exactly. That was devastating. The Taj Mahal Hotel, a Tata property, was attacked. He didn't just oversee the restoration, which was massive in itself. He personally visited affected employees and their families.
Personal wow.
Yes. Ensured their immediate needs were met, and then established the Taj Public Service Welfare Trust for long-term support. This commitment, prioritizing human dignity, long-term employee welfare, even at significant financial cost, it created a level of trust that went way beyond traditional business contracts.
Setting a benchmark, really, for people-first leadership in a crisis.
Absolutely. Fourth characteristic, he made group members feel genuinely worthy.
How did he achieve that?
Well, charismatic leaders make group members feel worthy by appraising them, awarding them for their efforts. Ratan Tata exemplified this through things like the comprehensive code of conduct for all Tata Group employees.
Establishing clear standards.
Yes. And remember that detail about Tata Consultancy Services, TCS? He decided to refer to employees there as associates.
Ah, right. Not just employees.
Exactly. It's subtle, but it's a powerful shift in language. It signifies partnership, shared ownership. It fosters a sense that every individual is a valuable collaborator in the company's journey, not just, a cog in the machine.
That makes a difference. And empathy was mentioned, too.
Yes, his empathy was another defining characteristic. Empathy is about understanding the feelings and thoughts of the group members, providing them with social support and care.
And he was known for this.
Widely known for his warmth and empathetic side, both as a businessman and as a philanthropist. Beyond the huge response to 26/11, his compassion famously extended even to, ensuring staff at the Taj Hotel would treat stray animals kindly if they wandered onto the premises.
Really? That's quite specific.
It is, but it shows this deep capacity to understand and respond to the needs of others, human or otherwise, drove his actions.
Okay. And the final charismatic trait.
Finally, he possessed this profound ability to influence energy and motivation.
Keeping people going.
Exactly. Charismatic leaders provide motivation to group members to navigate challenges, providing them with positive energy to attain the organization's common goal. Ratan Tata's unwavering resolve, especially when facing setbacks like the initial struggles and eventual discontinuation of the Nano project.
Right, which must have been personally tough for him.
Immensely tough. But his resolve was contagious. It inspired his teams to persevere, to push forward despite the obstacles. He served as this steadfast source of a positive energy.
Okay, so that's charisma. Vision, Communication, trust, worthiness, empathy, motivation, powerful stuff.
Very. So if charisma provides the inspiration, then transformation is the tangible change it ignites.
Got it. The action part.
Yes. Transformative leaders are fundamentally the ones who bring positive changes. While charisma is a vital spark, this leadership style is about fundamentally altering and improving what exists, not just managing the status quo, like a caterpillar transforming into a butterfly.
And Ratan Tata's transformative impact on the Tata Group was huge.
Profound is the word. He fundamentally globalized the entire enterprise, transformed it from what was largely an Indian-centric group into a global powerhouse.
We saw those numbers earlier. Operations in over 100 countries.
Exactly. And a remarkable 65% of its revenues eventually coming from abroad. This was a complete metamorphosis for the group, shifting its identity from just a national giant to a truly multinational conglomerate.
And transformation through innovation too, right?
Absolutely. His leadership spurred pioneering innovations, overseeing the creation of India's first indigenous passenger car manufacturing unit, launching the Nano, conceived as the most affordable car for Indian citizens, born from that personal vision of accessible transportation.
And didn't he also get involved with startups later on?
Yes, beyond the established businesses, he personally invested in many early-stage startups. Names like Kashkaro, Snapdeal, Ola Cabs, DogSpot, Nestway, Xiaomi, T-Box.
Some big names in there now.
Right. This foresight positioned the Tata Group not just as a traditional industrial giant, but as a nurturer of future industries. He was planting seeds.
And transformation within the company culture as well. Diversity and inclusion.
Yes, he championed that too. Actively promoted diversity by including LGBTQ employees, ensuring 7% of the workforce in Tata Steel were women, achieving 35% women in TCS, which at the time was a figure higher than any other major firm in India.
That's significant.
Very. And he championed work flexibility too. This showed how he transformed not just business practices, but the very culture of the workplace, making it more fair and inclusive for everyone.
It sounds like he wasn't afraid to make big changes.
Definitely not. And perhaps his most famous quote perfectly encapsulates that transformative mindset.
Which one?
I don't believe in taking the right decisions. I take decisions and then make them right.
Ah, I've heard that one. What does it really mean, though?
Well, it's not about waiting for perfect conditions or having flawless blueprints before you act. It's about having the courage, the conviction to make a decision, and then a relentless commitment to problem solving and making that decision work, no matter what obstacles pop up afterwards.
So it's about action and perseverance.
Exactly. A philosophy of decisive action and unwavering dedication to see it through.
Okay, let's now explore how Ratan Tata really seized that global moment we talked about. 1991, economic liberalization. How did he actually navigate that?
Right. His chairmanship began in that truly pivotal year, India embarking on economic liberalization. It was this monumental shift. Government dismantling strict controls, socialist policies, effectively opening up the economy. A new dawn for Indian business.
And his response was described as visionary.
Absolutely. He didn't just sit back and watch. He enthusiastically welcomed the opportunities that came with the death of the license Raj, getting rid of that cumbersome permit system.
Right, opening the gates.
But he also, simultaneously, fortified the Tata embankments, protected the core business against the inevitable threats of increased competition.
Defense and offense.
Exactly. And most boldly, he embraced the prospect of taking the group to foreign shores, proactively positioning the Tata Group for that grand voyage into uncharted, exciting, but potentially turbulent international waters.
And the results, you said, were staggering.
Just incredible numbers. Under his stewardship, the Tata Group's revenue grew over 40 times. Profits increased by more than 50 times.
Wow. 40 and 50 times.
Yeah. And that figure, 65% of the group's revenues eventually coming from abroad, operations expanding to over 100 countries, products and services reaching over 150 countries, it truly transformed a largely India-centric company into a powerful multinational conglomerate.
And a big part of that global growth was strategic acquisitions, right? Buying companies overseas.
Yes, significantly driven by a series of acquisitions designed to expand the group's reach and diversify its portfolio across different sectors and geographies.
What were some of the key ones?
Well, an early significant one was in 2000. Tata Tea acquired the global tea brand Tetley Group for about 271 million euros.
Tetley Tea, right? Big brand.
Huge. A crucial early step in expanding the group's international footprint in consumer goods, like a first bold move on the global chessboard.
Okay, what came next?
Then, in 2004, Tata Motors stepped up. They acquired the truck manufacturing unit of South Korea's Daewoo Motors for $102 million.
Data trucks. Okay, so expanding an automotive beyond India.
Exactly, signaling a clear pattern of targeted international expansion in core areas.
And then came the really big one, the one people still talk about a lot, Chorus Steel.
Ah, yes, Chorus. 2007. Tata Steel acquired the Anglo-Dutch company Chorus Group for a massive £6.2 billion. That was around US $12 billion at the time.
$12 billion. Huge deal.
Made Tata Steel the world's fifth largest steel producer overnight. The initial vision was grand. Integrate resources, secure raw materials, combine manufacturing tech, create a real steel industry giant. Like two powerful rivers merging into one mighty current.
Sounds strategically sound, but it didn't quite work out that way, did it?
No. Despite the promise, this acquisition became a really complex case study, often referred to as a failed acquisition, actually, due to a whole confluence of internal and external factors that hit them.
What went wrong? What were those factors?
Well, one major unforeseen obstacle was the global economic downturn that hit shortly after.
The 2008 crisis.
Exactly. European Tata Steel operations just became stagnant. Steel production in the UK actually collapsed as demand from key users like the auto industry, consumer durables, it just dried up. The waters got incredibly choppy, unexpectedly.
But bad timing with the economy? What else?
Adding to that was the influx of cheaper Chinese steel flooding the European market. It completely distorted global conditions. China's massive steel growth meant they had huge excess supply when global demand slowed down, and that directly impacted producers like Chorus.
Right, undercut on price.
Massively. Furthermore, soaring energy costs in the UK were a killer, especially for energy-intensive businesses like steel mills. This was made worse by environmental policies, green taxes. It just made production significantly more expensive compared to other countries.
Okay, external pressures? Were there internal issues too? Integration problems?
Yes, integration challenges played a significant role. Apparently, Tata continued with Chorus's existing chief executive, which, some argue, led to a perceived lack of control and insufficient executive authority from Tata Steel's side.
So maybe not enough hands-on management from the Tata side initially.
That's one interpretation. There was also reportedly a lack of proper knowledge transfer, meaning valuable operational insights, best practices, they weren't effectively shared between the two entities. That hindered synergy and contributed to losses. It's like buying a complex new machine, but not fully learning how to operate it or integrate it into your existing factory.
That makes sense. And wasn't there also criticism about the price paid?
Yes. Compounding all this is the argument that Tata overpaid for the acquisition. They offered 608 pence per share for Chorus, which was 34% more than a previous offer, totaling that $12 billion.
Why pay so much more?
Well, the suggestion is that in the spirit of competition, during the bidding war, they might have gotten carried away and overvalued the asset. Like, getting caught up in an auction and paying more than something is truly worth, impacting profitability right from the start.
So the outcome wasn't good.
No, the outcome was a clear failure to create the expected value. Chorus Steel's profitability declined within just 2 years. Its share price reduced significantly, indicating that shareholders felt the acquisition actually damaged rather than increased value.
And cultural differences, always a factor in big mergers.
Absolutely. On top of everything else, deeply embedded cultural differences between the UK and Indian company structures also complicated integration, led to friction, inefficiencies, like two teams trying to play a game with slightly different rule books.
It sounds like a perfect storm of problems. Did they try to fix things?
They did. Despite these significant setbacks, Tata Steel undertook mitigation efforts. They invested in iron ore and coal mines overseas Canada, Africa, Australia. That's called reverse integration, trying to control their input costs. They also sold off some of Chorus's non-core aluminum and chemical businesses to try and streamline things.
Okay, so Chorus was tough. But then came another big acquisition, one with a very different narrative.
Ah, yes. What many consider the sweetest revenge, the acquisition of Jaguar Land Rover, JLR, in 2008.
Right. Iconic British luxury brand.
Exactly. Tata Motors acquired them from Ford Motors for $2.5 billion. And this acquisition is just this powerful story of, well, humiliation to triumph. It perfectly illustrates Ratan Tata's strategic patience and resolve.
Humiliation to triumph. What's the backstory there, the humiliation part?
It begins vividly back in 1999. Tata Motors was really struggling with its first passenger car, the Tata Indica. They were even considering selling the division to Ford.
Okay.
During a meeting in Detroit that year, four officials were reportedly incredibly dismissive, telling Tata's representatives, and this is a quote often cited, "You don't know anything. Why did you even start a passenger car division?"
Ouch. That's harsh.
Incredibly harsh. They clearly believe they were doing Tata a favor by even considering the deal. For Ratan Tata and his team, it was a moment of profound public humiliation.
Okay, I can see the humiliation part. So the triumph.
Less than a decade later, the tables turned dramatically. By 2008, Ford itself was struggling, big financial losses, stiff competition, quality issues with JLR.
Right, the auto industry was tough then, too.
Very. And it was then that Tata Motors, under Ratan Tata's leadership, stepped in and acquired JLR from Ford.
Wow. The same company that had been dismissed just years earlier.
Exactly. And Ford chairman Bill Ford, apparently with remarkable grace, acknowledged the full circle. He reportedly stated, "You are doing us a big favor by buying JLR."
That is the ultimate comeback story, turning the tables completely.
Absolutely. Proving worth not with words, but with decisive strategic action and resilience. And this acquisition really did mark a significant turnaround for Tata Motors, strengthened its global presence dramatically. Today, JLR contributes a huge portion of its revenue. It was a masterstroke in hindsight that fundamentally altered the company's trajectory and global standing.
Amazing story. So besides these huge industrial acquisitions, Ratan Tata also ventured into newer frontiers, tech and media.
Yes, he wasn't just focused on traditional industries. In 2004, under his leadership, Tata Consultancy Services, TCS, the group's IT firm, went public on the Indian stock exchanges.
Listing on the stock exchange, meaning everyday people could buy shares.
Exactly, making shares available for the public to buy and own, like inviting everyone to own a small piece of a growing pie. It was a monumental step. Not only raised significant capital, but solidified TCS's position as a major global player. Today, TCS is India's second largest company, worth an astonishing, $183.36 billion?
Incredible growth. And the media venture.
That was in 2006. Tata ventured into the direct-to-home, or DTH, television business by launching
Toski, right, satellite TV.
Yeah, which is now one of the biggest in the television network distribution space in India. This demonstrated his foresight into the evolving media landscape, recognizing and investing in new avenues for consumer engagement and distribution, opening a new window to entertainment for millions.
Okay, so his leadership clearly transformed the business landscape. But let's shift focus now to what truly set him apart from many people, his integrity, his ethics, his philanthropy.
Yes, this is a huge part of his legacy. He is widely celebrated for his ethical leadership and this unwavering commitment to social responsibility. He famously stated, and it's worth quoting again, "Apart from values and ethics, which I have tried to live by, the legacy I would like to leave behind is a very simple one, that I have always stood up for what I consider to be the right thing, and I have tried to be as fair and equitable as I could be."
That sounds like a personal mission statement almost, his internal compass.
Exactly, always pointing towards what was right, like a lighthouse guiding ships through sometimes murky ethical waters.
And his commitment to his employees' welfare seems like a powerful illustration of this.
Absolutely. We touched on the 26/11 Mumbai attack earlier. The Taj Mahal Hotel, a Tata property, targeted. Ratan Tata didn't just oversee the restoration, he personally visited the affected employees and their families.
That a personal touch again.
Yes. Ensured their needs were met, formed the Taj Public Service Welfare Trust for long-term support. It was just an incredible demonstration of empathy and care, prioritizing his people above all else, even amidst a national tragedy, like a shepherd protecting his flock during a storm.
And this dedication, it permeated his whole leadership approach.
It seems so. His dedication to dignity and inclusion was key. He developed that comprehensive code of conduct for all Tata Group employees, establishing clear ethical guidelines.
The rules of the road, ethically speaking.
Right. And remember the associate's title at TCS? More than just semantics. It signified partnership, shared worth. Plus, he strongly promoted inclusion of diversity, actively supporting LGBTQ employees, setting targets for women in the workforce, 7% in Tata Steel, 35% in TCS, which was leading for India then, championing flexibility. It made employees feel genuinely valued and empowered.
One of the most remarkable aspects often highlighted is his refusal to compromise on ethics, even if it hurt business.
Yes, that's a recurring theme. Ratan Tata was renowned for refusing to engage in corrupt practices, even explicitly at the cost of potential business loss.
Like walking away from deals.
Exactly. He would consistently withdraw from international bids where unethical behavior was expected. It showed an unwavering commitment to principle over profit, like refusing to cheat in a game, even if it means you might not win that particular game.
Are there specific examples of this?
Yes, there are concrete examples that underscore this integrity. He famously withdrew from what's known as the Indonesian corruption scandal, flatly refusing to pay bribes to secure contracts there.
Okay.
Similarly, he refused to pay bribes in the Air India aircraft deal, despite what must have been immense pressure to secure that critical contract for the national carrier he once chaired. These actions, repeated across different situations, really solidified his reputation as a leader who stood absolutely firm on his principles, regardless of the immediate financial consequences.
And his humility. That's often mentioned too, despite his background.
Yes, his humility and his hands-on leadership style further cemented that bond with employees. He exhibited deep humility. Remember, he started his career literally working on the shop floor of Tata Steel.
Right, back at the beginning.
To gain grassroots experience, to genuinely understand the challenges faced by his workers. This direct approach fostered trust and connection. It showed he understood the business from its very foundations, not just from the top floors.
And transparency, was that part of his philosophy?
Central to it. Transparency and trust were core to his operational philosophy. He consistently ensured transparency in his business operations, never misleading stakeholders or investors. His leadership emphasized open communication, building trust both inside and outside the company. The Tata Group's code of conduct became, and still is, one of the most respected in the corporate world, a beacon of ethical clarity.
And this leadership, this sense of responsibility, it extended beyond just the company, to society at large.
Absolutely. It reflected a profound moral obligation to society. During the tragic 1984 riots in India, for example, Tata Motors provided new trucks to Sikh drivers who had lost their livelihood in the violence. Immediate, tangible support.
Wow. Okay.
He also led significant disaster relief efforts during floods and earthquakes, providing crucial aid and rehabilitation, and perhaps most notably, during the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020.
Right, a huge global crisis.
Tata Sons and Tata Trusts pledged a combined Rs 1,500 crore. That's a massive amount, including Rs 500 crore from Tata Trusts, specifically for PPE, testing kits, healthcare infrastructure.
Critically needed supplies.
Exactly. And he famously advocated against layoffs. Retrenchment was the word used during this period, prioritizing support for the workforce when many other companies were cutting jobs. It was a powerful demonstration of putting people first, like a parent protecting their family during hard times.
And this integrity extended to customers too. Trust and quality.
Paramount. Ratan Tata firmly believed that trust was the foundation of any business. His emphasis on integrity in customer relations ensured Tata products became known for reliability and safety. Under his leadership, Tata Motors focused on producing safe and affordable cars, like the Nano.
Even if the Nano had marketing issues, the safety focus was there.
The intent was there. Similarly, Tanishq, the jewelry brand, launched under his chairmanship in 1994. They built trust in a really clever way by revealing fraudulent practices of other jewelers with their karatmeter, a device that verified gold purity right in front of the customer.
Transparency again.
Exactly. It established Tanishq on the strong values of transparency and quality in a market that was often plagued by deceit, building trust through honesty.
Okay, so beyond the corporate ethics, let's talk about the philanthropy itself. It wasn't just a side project for him or the group, was it?
No, not at all. For Ratan Tata, philanthropy was social responsibility in tangible action. It wasn't merely an add-on, it was woven into the very fabric of the Tata Group, reflecting this deeply held belief that business success should inherently serve society and contribute to its overall well-being.
And the scale of this commitment is just mind-boggling, right? The structure is unique.
It really is. The Tata Trusts. They're one of India's oldest charitable institutions, founded by Jamsetji Tata way back in 1892. They are integral to the group's identity. Ratan Tata oversaw key trusts like the Sir Dorabji Tata and Allied Trusts and established the Sir Ratan Tata Trust in 1919.
But the ownership structure is the really astonishing part.
It is. What's perhaps lesser known is that Philanthropic Trusts own a staggering 66% stake in Tata Sons, the group's main holding company.
66% owned by charities.
Yes. Think about that. It means a significant majority of the Tata Group's profits are systematically channeled back into society. By 2021, Tata Trusts had reportedly donated over $102.4 billion towards philanthropic causes, topping global lists for that period.
Over $100 billion. That's incredible.
It's a unique structure ensuring continuous societal contribution, like a never-ending well of goodness, funded by the business itself.
And where does all that money go? What areas do they focus on?
Their contributions span a really wide net of impact. Education is a huge one. Ratan Tata diligently carried forward the founder's legacy here. The Jayan Tata Endowment for Higher Education, for example, provides crucial scholarships for Indian students pursuing higher education abroad.
Helping individuals get opportunities.
Exactly. And Tata Trusts actively work on providing quality education to children from marginalized communities, focusing on things like critical thinking, problem solving, collaborative learning, technology, directly aligning with UN Sustainable Development Goals like quality education and gender equality.
So both individual support and systemic improvement. And they support major institutions, too.
Oh, yeah. The list of premier institutions supported is truly impressive, reflects a global reach in nurturing knowledge. You've got the Tata Center for Technology and Design at IIT Bombay and also at MIT in the US.
Wow, MIT, too.
Yep. The University of Chicago, the Tata Center for Genetics and Society at UC San Diego, Harvard University South Asia Institute, Indian Institute of Science in Bengaluru, Tata Institute of Social Sciences in Mumbai, Tata Memorial Center for Cancer, Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, National Institute of Advanced Studies. The list goes on. These are strategic investments in human capital and research infrastructure.
And he made personal donations, too, didn't he? Especially to his alma maters.
Incredibly generous personal gifts. He personally gifted $50 million to Cornell University back in 2008. At the time, it was the largest international donation in Cornell's history.
$50 million, personal gift.
Yes, and the Tata Education and Development Trust also established a $28 million Tata Scholarship Fund specifically for Indian undergraduates at Cornell. Similarly, Tata Group companies and charities donated $50 million to Harvard Business School in 2010 for an executive center, which was fittingly named Tata Hall.
Spreading the impact globally and focusing on research, too.
Yes, the impact on research is significant. TCS, the IT company, donated $35 million to Carnegie Mellon University, CMU, for a facility researching cognitive systems and autonomous vehicles that's now known as TCS Hall.
Investing in future tech.
Exactly. And the Tata Group also made that massive donation of ours, $950 million to IIT Bombay in 2014 for the Tata Center for Technology and Design, the largest donation in that institute's history. These aren't just charitable gifts, they're strategic investments in the future of knowledge and innovation, intended to drive progress.
Okay, education is huge. What about healthcare?
He played a significant role there, too, in improving healthcare in India, supported initiatives for maternal and child health, mental health, and crucially, the diagnosis and treatment of major diseases like cancer, malaria, and tuberculosis.
Addressing big public health challenges.
Absolutely. He provided a grant of $750 million to the Center of Neuroscience at the Indian Institute of Science specifically for Alzheimer's disease research. And back in 2010, Tata Trusts donated Rs 220 crore to the Tata Medical Center in Kolkata, a state-of-the-art cancer treatment and research facility. It shows a really holistic approach to public well-being.
And beyond the cities, rural development.
Yes, his philanthropic reach extended there too. The Transforming Rural India Initiative, or TRI, a Tata Group initiative, collaborates with governments and NGOs to address acute poverty in India's villages. He also supported agricultural research aimed at improving livelihoods for farmers, underscoring a commitment to foundational societal betterment right at the grassroots.
And disaster relief.
Consistently. As a truly compassionate leader, he consistently made generous donations during times of natural calamities, supporting the construction of schools, hospitals, helping rebuild communities after disasters like floods and earthquakes. Not just financial aid, but actively helping restore lives and infrastructure.
It's an incredible scope of philanthropic work, deeply embedded in the group structure.
It really is. But his contribution didn't stop when he stepped down from the main corporate role, did it? He became involved in nurturing India's future in another way.
Right, through startups.
Exactly. Beyond his corporate role, Ratan Tata transitioned into this pivotal figure in India's emerging startup ecosystem. After stepping down as chairman, he became this influential mentor and investor.
Investing his own money.
Yes. Over the past decade, he personally invested his savings in more than 40 startups. A remarkable contribution that has genuinely helped India become the world's third largest startup ecosystem. He acted as this vital catalyst, believing in and financially backing the potential of the next generation of entrepreneurs, like a wise elder investing in the dreams of the young.
And he saw it as more than just financial return, right?
His foresight was deeply strategic. He viewed these investments as opportunities to learn and gain insights into emerging trends, not solely for maximizing personal profit.
And his portfolio includes some big names now.
It really does. Major names that are household brands in India today. Ola, now Ola Electric, of course. Lenskart Eyewear, Urban Company Home Services, Paytm FinTech, First Cry Baby Products, Moglix B2B Industrial Goods, and others like Dogspot, Nestway, Xiaomi, T-Box, Kashkaro.
So a diverse range of sectors.
Very diverse, but the impact went far beyond just the capital he provided.
How so? What else did his backing bring?
It provided an invaluable vote of confidence for these budding entrepreneurs. Getting Ratan Tata's backing was like getting a stamp of approval that opened doors.
Like validation from a legend.
Exactly. Founders have talked about this. Apiraj Singh Bal of Urban Company shared Ratan Tata's guidance. India needs what you are building. Keep the quality high, and the rest will follow. Simple, powerful advice.
That's great guidance.
And Kaushal Dugar of T-Box stated that Tata's investment essentially made it successful. He said it transformed them from a bunch of misfits trying to change something that's been working for about 100 years. Once Mr. Tata came on board, literally everyone started taking us seriously in India, and we got the much-needed boost to grow.
Wow. That highlights his unique role as a mentor and validator, truly shaping India's burgeoning startup landscape, more than just an investor.
Absolutely. And finally, there's that unique, touching connection to his personal life, his well-known love for animals, specifically dogs.
Right, the dogs at Bombay House.
Exactly. Bombay House, the Tata Sons headquarters, famously shelters stray dogs. This personal interest led to his introduction to a young man named Shantanu Naidu.
Okay.
Naidu was fundraising for an initiative called Mudopause, putting glowing collars on stray dogs to prevent road accidents.
A simple but clever idea.
Right. Ratan Tata was impressed, and Naidu eventually became his assistant. And later, Ratan Tata invested in Naidu's own startup, Goodfellows.
Goodfellows. What do they do?
They provide companionship services to senior citizens. Loneliness is a big issue.
Wow. That's really interesting.
It is. It showcases his interest in social innovation that truly puts people first, connecting his personal passions with supporting new ideas for societal good.
Okay, so we've covered his leadership, his ethics, philanthropy, startup mentoring. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Let's turn our attention now to the storms Ratan Tata faced. Even visionary leaders encounter significant hurdles.
Absolutely. And there were definitely professional hurdles and unforeseen setbacks. First, we should reiterate that internal succession battle he faced right at the beginning when he took over from JRD Tata.
Right, the minefield.
Exactly. He faced immense resistance from those entrenched senior executives. He had to implement new policies like that mandatory retirement age just to consolidate his authority and actually enact his vision. That was a challenging internal power struggle he had to navigate from day one.
Okay, so internal challenges. What about major projects that didn't go as planned? The Nano comes to mind.
The Tata Nano, yes. A project that, despite its really profound social ambition, faced a very bumpy and ultimately challenging ride.
The dream behind it was so compelling, though.
It was deeply personal for Ratan Tata. He was inspired, as the story goes, by seeing entire families in India struggling to ride together on two-wheelers, often dangerously overloaded.
Yeah, you see that image a lot.
His vision was to provide an affordable vehicle, priced around 1 lakh, which was about $2,000 back then, a true people's car for the middle and lower middle class, aiming to uplift millions by offering safe, accessible personal transportation. A compassionate vision, like building a safe, affordable shelter for those who need it most.
But the execution hit roadblocks. Manufacturing.
Big time. The manufacturing journey was fraught with tumult. The initial plan was to set up the factory in Singur, West Bengal.
Okay.
But that faced intense and often violent protests, led by Mamata Banerjee, who was in opposition then but later became chief minister.
Political opposition.
Fierce political opposition. Ratan Tata famously stated at the time, "You cannot run a plant with police protection." He felt it was untenable.
So what happened?
It ultimately led to the plant's relocation all the way to Sanand in Gujarat, a huge setback. And adding to the complexity, the Supreme Court later deemed the original land acquisition in Singur illegal. It highlights the formidable external and political roadblocks that even a compassionate, well-intentioned vision can slam into.
Wow. But the biggest blow wasn't even the politics, was it? It was the marketing.
Ironically, yes. The biggest blow for the Nano seems to have come not from the protests or politics, but from the very people he aimed to serve, in a way. The marketing team made this crucial misstep.
What was the misstep?
They positioned the Nano simply as the cheapest car.
Not most affordable.
Exactly. Instead of highlighting it as the most affordable and accessible vehicle, the message became cheap. And Ratan Tata himself admitted this later. He said, quote, "The marketing pitch caused the car to have a negative impact on the market as people didn't want to be seen in the cheapest car."
Ah, the stigma of cheap. Nobody wants the cheap option.
Precisely. That mislabeling fundamentally hurt sales and public perception. It undermined the aspirational aspect of owning a car, even an affordable one.
So what was the final outcome for the Nano?
Sadly, production stopped in 2018, nearly a decade after its launch. The Nano project remains, as one source put it, Ratan Tata's half-realized dream. A really poignant testament to how even the most brilliant and compassionate ideas born from genuine social concern can stumble due to execution errors or, perhaps most critically, perception challenges.
Tough lesson in branding and market psychology.
Definitely. And we must also briefly revisit the Chorus acquisition aftermath because it serves as another stark example of unforeseen setbacks hitting even the biggest plans.
Right, the steel giant that struggled.
As we discussed, significant challenges unfolded after that acquisition. The unexpected global economic downturn hit hard. The flood of cheaper Chinese steel changed the market dynamics. Soaring energy costs in the UK squeezed margins.
And the internal integration issues.
Yes, deep integration issues stemming from that perceived lack of control and knowledge transfer. Plus, the argument that they overpaid for the asset in the first place, impacting profitability from day one, and those deeply embedded cultural differences complicating everything.
It really underscores that even the most visionary leaders face massive, unexpected hurdles.
Absolutely. And that not all bold moves, no matter how strategically sound they seem at the outset, yield the desired results. It offers profound lessons in the complexities and risks of global mergers and acquisitions.
Okay, so challenges and setbacks are part of any major leader's story. This brings us to another complex area, public perception. How is Ratan Tata viewed? Is it universally positive?
That's a fascinating question, and the answer is complex. For someone as prominent as Ratan Tata, opinions naturally vary wildly. It reflects diverse viewpoints, different information people focus on.
And online discussions like the Reddit thread source we looked at really highlight this duality, right? Where he's both deeply admired and also critically examined.
Exactly. It's like looking at a famous painting. Different people will see different things, focus on different aspects.
But what are some of the critical perspectives?
Yeah.
There was the genius PR machine argument.
Yes. Some commenters suggest Ratan Tata benefits immensely from a huge PR machine that very cleverly strokes nationalistic feelings.
How so? What examples do they give?
They point to historical narratives, like the story of J.R.D. Tata building the Taj Hotel for Indians during the British Raj, supposedly because Indians weren't allowed in certain other hotels. Whether historically precise or not, it's used as an example of leveraging nationalist sentiment.
Okay.
The argument suggests that this kind of PR, combined with the sheer scale of employment, like TCS employing 500,000 people, lifting many families economically, creates this deep well of loyalty and shapes overall public perception very significantly.
Right. So PR plus economic impact equals positive image. What about skepticism towards him personally?
Then there's the skepticism and what some call idol worship. Other critics argue there is an idol worship norm in India, where common folks can't see beyond the surface.
Implying the positive image isn't fully deserved.
That's the implication. Some suggest the hype started only after he resigned as chairman of Tata Sons, suggesting it wasn't organic, but maybe a curated image built afterwards. There are even claims that, for example, TCS doesn't lift you out of poverty, it just gives you enough so that you can survive on bare minimum, a much harsher view of the economic impact.
And some broader anti-capitalist critiques.
Yes, some go further, arguing essentially that all capitalists suck, and that Ratan Tata exploits people and then spends some pennies on the same exploited people, thereby creating a messiah image to deflect from what they see as underlying capitalistic practices.
Okay, so those are some strong criticisms. But they're equally strong counter-arguments, right? Defending his integrity and impact.
Oh, absolutely. Many commenters strongly counter these criticisms with powerful arguments for his authentic integrity and genuinely positive impact. They see Ratan Tata as benefiting not just from PR, but from the real, tangible, selfless work the Tata Group does.
Like the philanthropy we discussed.
Exactly. Pointing to institutions like TSS, Tata Institute of Social Sciences, the vast education programs, the healthcare initiatives, the Tata Group itself is often described, even by some critics of capitalism, as decent as any large conglomerate you can get, suggesting they maintain a notably high ethical standard compared to many others globally.
And what about their political dealings? That often comes up with large conglomerates.
That's mentioned too. Some argue that the Tata Group, despite its massive size, did not go to the levels Ambani and Adani did in terms of owning politicians and making policy, suggesting a higher ethical bar in their political engagement. Though it's important we note impartially, as you said, that other sources do suggest the Tata Group has made political contributions, like through things like electoral bonds in India. So that point is debated.
Right. What else is brought up in his defense? Ethical hiring.
Yes, ethical hiring is mentioned, specifically the Tata Administrative Services, or TAS, program. It's known for recruiting, as one commenter put it, straight as a whistle, non-scammy, kids with integrity. And that focus on hiring ethical people contributes to the company's overall ethical operations from the ground up.
And his personal qualities.
Yeah.
Humility, lifestyle.
Many highlight those too, describing Ratan Tata as actually better than Ambani, possessing a general down-to-earth nature, maintaining a low profile when it comes to his lifestyle, security, and all, especially compared to, say, others with lavish billion-dollar houses and luxury cars. This perceived simple lifestyle contributes to that image of him as almost a fakir or a sannyasi, an ascetic figure, despite his wealth.
That contrast is powerful. What about safety and social impact beyond philanthropy?
His focus on safety, particularly vehicle safety, also garners genuine admiration. For example, Tata Motors' commitment to making safer cars, even if it adds cost, is highlighted as an entrepreneurial decision that will indirectly save lives. A conscious choice seen as going beyond pure profit maximization.
And employee well-being.
Yes, Tata companies are widely considered one of the best places to work for in India, and that reputation is seen by many as stemming directly from his top leadership and his consistently employee-centric approach.
His support for startups comes up again here too.
It does. His contribution to the startup ecosystem is frequently praised, particularly the act of personally funding startups. Some contrast this with claims that other major industrialists just straight up buys a bunch of established companies, although realistically many large groups do both fund early stage and acquire later stage companies, but his personal involvement is seen differently.
And the sheer scale of the charity cannot be ignored.
Absolutely. The magnitude is often cited. Tatas have donated a lot, one commenter says, estimating $1 trillion USD over time and calling them the biggest charity in last decade on the planet. Receiving, as they put it, dividends on good karma.
There's even a debate about whether they advertise their charity or not.
Yeah, it's interesting. Some argue they don't advertise their charity like others do. Others counter that their lack of advertising is their advertising subtly shaping perception through perceived humility and genuine action rather than loud pronouncements.
And the nationalism point.
Yeah.
How's that countered?
On the nuance of nationalism, while some accuse Tata of using nationalist sentiments to sell their products, like that Dish Ka Namak, salt of the nation slogan for Tata Salt.
Right.
Others argue, well, nationalism isn't exclusive to any one group. Many companies evoke nationalistic fervor to sell products, especially in India. So they see it as a common marketing practice rather than something uniquely manipulative by Tata.
Okay, so a strong defense. But to present the full spectrum, we also need to acknowledge, neutrally, some of the more critical, sometimes controversial claims found in these sources.
Yes, it's crucial to do that without endorsing them, just reporting what's out there in the public discourse. These contribute to the complete picture of public perception. For instance, there are mentions of the Nira Radia tapes, a past controversy involving corporate lobbying, which leads some to call him, quote, a sleazy dude.
Okay. Political allegations, too.
Yes, there are allegations of him being a Sanghi supporter, a term referring to Hindu nationalists.
Yeah.
Claims that he supports BJP with money via electoral bonds to get government contracts and Air India back. Some extreme comments even claim he will destroy this country just for his company. Very strong accusations found in some corners.
Historical claims as well.
There are even historical claims, like the allegation that Tata's started as one of the drug smugglers to China for the British Empire cartel, a very old and controversial claim about the group's origins, and more contemporary criticism regarding the condition of laborers in Tata Tea estates in Kerala, concerns about worker welfare in specific parts of the vast group.
And finally, the privilege argument.
Yes, some commenters draw comparisons to old money and inherited privileges. They argue his success wasn't a rags to riches story, implying it was more a product of his birth and the platform he inherited, rather than purely individual effort against all odds.
So how do we reconcile all these incredibly diverse, often contradictory views?
I think the key is to understand that a public figure of Ratan Tata's immense stature will always have a complex public image. This wide range of opinions is fueled by different perspectives, different personal experiences, different information individuals choose to focus on or believe.
So our goal here isn't to decide who's right.
Not at all. Our goal is to present this full spectrum, allowing you, the listener, to understand the nuances of his multifaceted legacy. Like observing all the different facets of a magnificent, multi-sided diamond. Each angle reveals something different.
That's a good analogy. It's been an incredible journey tonight, really digging deep.
It really has. As we wrap up this deep dive into Ratan Tata's life and leadership, maybe let's just recap some of the key learnings that truly stand out from this exploration.
Sounds good. What's first on your list?
For me, it's his visionary leadership. It showed us that true leaders don't just react to the world. They actively imagine a better future and then work tirelessly to create it. His ability to see opportunities where others saw obstacles, whether it was the concept behind the Nano or the bold JLR acquisition, it fundamentally reshaped industries.
Absolutely. And linked to that, for me, is his unwavering integrity. It offers such a powerful lesson. He exemplified that ethical leadership isn't just about, following the rules on paper. It's about making those genuinely tough decisions based on strong moral values, even when it means sacrificing immediate gains or profits. That refusal of bribes, the commitment to fair practices, it set an incredibly high gold standard for corporate conduct, not just in India, but globally.
Couldn't agree more. And third, and perhaps the most profound aspect for me, is his deep empathy and that unwavering commitment to social responsibility. Beyond the balance sheets, beyond the profits, he showed us the immense power of a business that genuinely aims to serve society.
That 66% ownership by trusts really drives that home.
It does. And his deep care for employees during crises, his extensive philanthropy in crucial areas like education and healthcare, his efforts in rural development, it all proves that business success and societal well-being can and maybe should go hand in hand.
Fourth, I'd highlight his courageous risk-taking. He teaches us that vital lesson, maybe summed up in his own slightly adapted words. The biggest risk is not taking any risk. His bold moves acquiring iconic global brands like Tetley or JLR, his personal investments in budding startups, despite the significant challenges and the skepticism he often faced, they were absolutely fundamental to the Tata Group's transformation from an Indian-centric company to a global powerhouse. He wasn't afraid to make big bets.
True. And finally, for me, it's his perseverance and humility. These qualities are truly inspiring. Through personal heartbreaks, through significant business failures like the initial hurdles and ultimate fate of the Nano project, through constant public scrutiny and those internal battles, he remains steadfast. His humility, starting on the shop floor, and his hands-on approach kept him grounded, kept him connected to the people who ultimately made his grand vision possible.
Well summarized. It leaves you a lot to think about. He had that famous quote, didn't he?
Yeah.
About impact versus income.
Yes, exactly. Ratan Tata famously said, "Life is about making an impact, not making an income." And another one, "Success is not about how much money you make. It's about the difference you make in people's lives."
Powerful words to reflect on.
They really are. So, as we step away from this deep dive into his remarkable, complex journey, perhaps we're left to ponder, what kind of impact do you want to make? In your own life, in the world around you, what legacy will you strive to build, guided by your own integrity, your own vision?
A very provocative thought to end on.
This concludes our deep dive into the impactful life and leadership of Ratan Tata.